Hey everybody, Wolfie here. Getting into the later part of the trapping season, so it's time to start tanning some hides. And tonight we're going to start work on a small beaver hide. It's about a 2-year-old beaver. He's not real monstrous, but I had a request for a tanned hide, so this is going to be the one that we do up for the customer, I guess we'll call them. It's when I skinned it, I did a nice clean skin job on it. Very little fleshing to do. We're gonna get that done and start work on the salting process. Salting process is a 3-day endeavor. We gotta get it all clean and everything. Then we mix table salt onto it. Or, well, we don't mix. We just put table salt onto it. You want to get a good coating of salt on there, but we'll get to all that part shortly. I'm going to pause the camera and I'll get this cleaned up and we'll get to work on salting. But yeah, you've got 3 days. I'll cover this shortly. We're back in a few minutes after I finish fleshing this off. Okay, we're back, everyone. I got this thing pretty much completely cleaned off. A few little spots left, but the odd little bit you don't really got to worry too much about. The cleaner you can get the leather, the better. Just less work that you have to do type thing in the long run. So we got this thing all cleaned up. A little bit of trimming here and there. I trimmed the lips and jowls out from around the face. So we get to the next step, and that's going to be the first salting. Now, as I was saying earlier, this is about a 3-day process for salting them. Right now, as you can see here, I have it tacked out on one of my bigger beaver boards. Let's see, there we go. And that's just to make it easier for me to put the salt in. That's how I flesh them as they go on the board, like normally. I put them on just with the odd nail around them and then do all my fleshing, and then I bring them out to their proper size and everything. So I kind of just adapted that to this part of the job too when I'm going to be tanning them. Put the knife away and we'll grab some salt. And yeah, this is a 3-day process. What you do, I'm going to adjust the camera here so you can see what I'm working on. And now, what you do is you just get your salt. Don't be shy. Lots of salt. And you're using just regular table salt. You don't need anything special. And you just, the first bit, you grind it right into the leather. Get it in there good. Don't worry about it getting on fur. You want to cover every bit of this hide with salt. Well, and don't close the box until you're actually done. Work it right in there good. This keeps it, having it tacked to the partly to the board gives you lots of freedom working on it here. But you gotta watch yourself on the nails. I just screwed up and jammed one into my hand. Should also probably be wearing gloves for this because this is going to dry your skin right out. What this is going to do is the salt's going to soak up a lot of the grease out of the hide. And now we're almost done here for this round. Throw a little extra on. You want a good heavy salting on it. Because you are just using non-iodized salt. And that's the most important part. Non-iodized salt as part of the type of salt. This stuff, you just rub it in gently. You don't get to put force into it when you're putting the extra on for the night. Now what you do is this sits overnight. Well, 24 hours type thing for a day. So we'll be back at this again tomorrow night after dinner. Ooh, yuck. Salt everywhere. Okay, now we close the box up. Yeah, okay, sorry. This sits up for 24 hours with the salt on it. And then you scrape it all down and you do it all over again a second time. And you grind the salt right in the best you can, then throw some extra on for the night like to help out. You got a nice thick coating on here. And this is going to pull all the grease and stuff out, help dry up the hide, and get it ready for the actual tanning process. So, after the salt's on here, you want to pull all your nails. That one came out pretty easy. This is why you don't want too many nails holding it down while you're working on it like this, because, well, then you gotta turn around and pull all them nails back out. Okay. Nails are out. So what you do now is, like for this part of it, fold it over, leather on leather. Or in this case, salt on salt, because you should have a really nice layer of salt in there. sure everything's closed up good for the night. Now, I have my nice new tanning buckets here, courtesy of one of my neighbors. They're kitty litter buckets that have been cleaned out quite well. Now you fold them up. You don't want the salt to get away. And you just set them in the bucket for the night. Lid on tight. There we go. That's good for the next 24 hours. And like I said, we'll be at it again tomorrow night. I won't bore everybody by showing you the exact same process a second time. So we'll be back in 2 nights when it's time to get ready for the salt bath. But so far, that's how easy it is. The whole process is pretty easy. You're looking at about half hour to an hour a day for approximately a week. But it goes pretty quick, pretty easy, and you end up with a really nice hide in the end of it. So I guess we'll see everybody in a couple nights, and we'll get on to stage 3, which would be the salt bath. And then we'll go from there. Hey everybody, Wolfie here. We're back again. We've done the salt on the hide for the 2 nights. It's the 48 hours of it with the change out last night. And here's your results so far. All the oil and grease and everything's out. We gotta scrape down this, scrape all this salt off. Just use our knife for that. And as you saw, it's bunched up pretty good. When I took the salt off last night to change it out to this stuff, it was almost scary. The stuff was like pink. The salt was pink from all the grease and water and stuff coming out of the hide. Okay, take this. Here's the advantage to having a drafting table as your work surface. You've got this tray in the front for where you keep your pencils and things like that. And it makes a good catch basin. Then when you're done this part, you just take a paper towel and right out the end. I'd kind of like to be using the drafting table for drafting, but this works. Definitely not going to complain about doing tanning hides. Yeah, so we scrape all this off and get all the last of the dried out stuff off it. And the little trough it goes. There we go. I'll show you this here in just a moment. Okay, so this is the beaver hide. We'll dry it out from the salt. pretty cleaned up. A couple little pieces like that right here that I gotta scrape off here. As you can see, no fat residue, no oil. All pretty good. Get these couple pieces. Bit more salt residue out of there. While I'm at it. Yeah, you want to take as much of this salt with the grease and that in it, like the oily salt and that. Want it out of off the leather. Although technically it's going back in salt today. You might have noticed too here. Got secondary project. It's a fisher tail. Doing that up for Jeanette. She's got a raccoon tail on her purse. We're doing up the fisher tail to go with it. Now, obviously, I'm far from being an expert at this, but I have been doing this a long time. Get pretty good at it. If I forget anything, I apologize. To describe or explain anything, I apologize. Like I said, I've been at it for a long time, so just kind of, I just do it. So. Okay, so we've got it all cleaned up now, and we're on to another nice easy part, probably the easiest part of the whole process, and that is salt bath. Now, I'll explain the salt bath here, get on camera here. The salt bath is half a pound of table salt to each gallon of water that you use. So a little over 4 liters to a gallon. I mix it up slightly over the half pound to 4.5 gallons. Or 4.5 liters, of water. I've got 9 liters, so 2 gallons. And I've got about approximately a pound of salt in there. You use nice hot water, obviously, to dissolve the salt, and then let it cool off down to room temperature. This has been sitting for a few hours now. But yeah, nice boiling water, or close to it. Half pound of salt to a gallon of water. Or I do believe it's 4.2 liters or something like that. But I tend to mix mine a little heavy on the salt, so there's probably like 1.25 pounds to my 9 liters. But that's the main measurement for it, is half pound per gallon. Now, what we're going to do is we have to submerge the beaver hide, or whatever hide you're working on, and into the water, like into the salt bath. Get the camera set up here so you can actually see it. Ignore the mess of the rest of the room. This is kind of everything project room. We do our seasonings here. I do my stone cutting up in here. I do my hide tanning up here. It's just everything. Okay, so you got your hide all cleaned up. You got your salt and grease off it. It's looking good. And you just submerge them down into your pail of water. Get your air bubbles out. Now, he's going to sit in this pail overnight. 8 to 10 hours is what they call for. And I don't have my weights up here, I don't think. I have some 5-pound lead weights that I normally use for this to hold them down. But you want them completely submerged. You don't want anything up out of the water. I'll get a weight for them. But gotta dry my hand here. So I can pick up my camera. Okay, so yeah, here's our little friend submerged in the bucket. Like I said, I'll grab a weight and put it on him. And we're done until tomorrow night. Or not tomorrow night, tomorrow morning. At which point we will be taking them out and getting them all cleaned up. I'll quit boring everybody now for the night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Hey everybody, Wolfie here again. And here we are on, let's see, day 4. Yeah, day 4 of tanning the beaver hide. We got it out of the salt bath this morning. Got it all rinsed off. And it's been hanging drying. It's mostly dry. You don't want it completely dry. Turned out pretty nice. And time for the tanning formula to go on. And I'm not sure if I've already mentioned it, but the stuff we're using is the Deer Hunters and Trappers hide tanning formula. And before you use it, they want you to let it sit in like a tub of hot water. Lights flickering. There we go. For approximately half an hour before you apply it to the hide. So mine's been sitting for a bit now. We got the beaver hide ready to go. I'm gonna change the angle of the camera here and show you how I do this first part of the application for it. And we'll go from there. Okay, change the angle here. Yeah, you can see the whole thing here. Now, first thing you want to do, you've got your beaver board set up to put it on. You want, for this initial part of the application, you want 7 nails. And you'll see why as I start to put them in. Now, you measure your hide out. Like you spread it out nice to its oval shape. And we have a 26-inch hide. Now, I already know the smallest circle that I've got drawn on this board is a 30-inch long. So it's definitely going to be inside that circle. So we stretch them out as much as we can to see approximately where we're going to be tacking them in place. This is being tanned up to be able to go onto a decorative version of a beaver hoop. So we got to make sure he gets lined up all pretty much perfect. Now, part of the process is going to be to actually stretch out the leather. Old school terms, it's breaking the hide. And what you're doing is, it's a process to loosen it up and soften it up afterwards, like working the hide afterwards. So, first thing we do, we get a tack in place at his nose. That looks about right. Now, we come down to this end, pull him out, and then reshape him into his oval. Not moving him around too much. Halfway at this end, you're going to have a nice, like, straight edge to the back of the fur here. This is where it was cut off right at the tail. So halfway through there, you got to put in your other tack. Bring it out to where the hide's going to be. As more closer to a finished product. Now, with them spread out, you have your halfway mark on your beaver board. Do the same here. Bring it out. Don't pull it too much, because, especially right now, because we're only tacking one side of the hide. Now, you've got your 3 points here. This will help. This will keep them in place good, closer to the shape you want to work with once you start getting them formula on. Now, right by the front leg, just ahead of it, like at the head side of it, one more tack. Same with at the back leg. Right by the back leg, you want one more tack in. And then at the halfway mark, between there and center. I've hit my thumb 3 times now. I've only put 6 nails in. I'm having a great day. And like I said, once again here, halfway in between these 2 nails. Hey everybody. I've discovered that in my recording process, the phone either didn't record, like with the previous video, even though it said it was, or I've somehow lost the file out of the phone, of applying the tanning formula to the hide. The whole process of putting the stuff on seems to be gone. So I guess luckily I have a few spots I have to touch up here with some formula, and I'm going to take that time to explain the process for the initial application. I really apologize for the first part of it not being on here. I'm pretty ticked off about it, especially seeing it's not the first time the phone's done this to me. So first off, make sure you wear gloves. You have to have your gloves. You don't want this stuff on your hand, like on your skin. Now I've got these spots here that need to be done, like touched up. So we add a bit of formula. Now when you're doing this the first time, it's going to take approximately a third of a bottle to do a beaver hide this size, like a medium-sized beaver hide, or any other fur-bearing animal like a raccoon, otter, fisher, whatever you're working on. You want to rub the stuff deep into the hide. You want to rub it right in there deep. Like get it well soaked in. And these areas, the areas around it, where I'm working today, it's okay if the stuff gets into the already partially done leather. It ain't gonna hurt it, and it's not a big deal if you have to come back and do a couple touch-ups. Adds a bit to a day or so to the length of the process, but it's not a horrible thing. You didn't screw anything up. If it happens to you, just happens. What it is if there's a spot where there was a little bit of extra grizzle or grease in there that you couldn't, like this, mist or whatever, you didn't get it out in the salting process and stuff. You thin it off the best you can. Add some more tanning formula. Now, like I was saying, in the initial process, you're going to have it tacked like I showed you. One side of it tacked in a few spots, and you get a good generous coating of the tanning formula rubbed deep into the leather. And then what you do is you take your hide on this side, or whatever side, and you fold it over so it's just like in the salting process. You fold it over, leather on leather, and you let it sit for 12 hours that way. 10 to 12 hours, a little longer even in some cases. If it's really thick or you want it to stay really thick, it could take up to about 14, even 16 hours. But what you're doing is you're getting the tanning formula to start to, I forget what the word is. You want it to start working. But that's your entire process for your initial coating of the tanning formula. You put it on quite liberally. Don't be shy with it. Just like when you're doing the salt, don't be shy with it. Coat your entire hide. Every bit of the leather needs to be covered. And from that point on, like I said, you may have to do a couple touch-ups like I'm doing now. It's not a horrible thing. It's just spots that didn't get quite as much attention as I guess they should have. You're not a screw up or anything if you have to do it. It happens to all of us. Like, I've been doing this a long time, and I still have spots like this almost every single time. I have to come back and do the odd little touch up to a few spots. Now, get this glove off so I can handle my camera. This is the touch-up spots around the ears and that. Got these spots back here. I just didn't get them quite clean enough, I guess. Like I said, it happens. Now, again, I apologize that the initial application of the tanning formula seems to have gone missing. But we'll go over this again real quick. What the process is you tack out your one side of your hide, nose, center of where the tail was, and 3 or 4, one halfway in between at your center line. Now for this one, you want it to be more along the oval shape that it's going to be finished at when you start at this process, like putting the formula on. So you work it out exactly where your hide edge is going to be on the sides. You put 2 or 3 nails in between each quarter point, only on one side though. You can put a couple nails on the far side as temporary ones while you're putting the formula on to keep the hide stretched out. Then you coat the entire leather section, every little tiny nook and cranny in the leather, with your tanning formula. Then you take out your temporary two or three temporary nails on the other side, and you fold the hide in half so it's leather on leather, and you just leave it sit for anywhere from 10 to 12 hours for a thinner leathered hide, to up to like 16 hours for the thicker leathered, like the Beaver. Like a good winter Beaver has a really thick hide to it. So you'd leave that sit for a good 14 hours ish. And at the end of that, you move on to the next stage, which I do have my video for, thankfully. So we'll leave it at that for now, and we'll get on to the next part of the process in the following video. Thanks a lot. Okay guys, we're back. Time for the long part of the process. This takes several days to finish up, but you should end up with a beautiful hide when you're done. We'll get the camera angle changed here so I can figure out the best way to do it here. Okay, it's gonna get a little bumpy, I'm guessing. We need our nails, we need our skinning knife, our hammer, need to move the coffee off the Beaver board. Need Alex to stay out from under my feet. Okay, so this has been sitting overnight with the tanning formula on it. So we're on to the next stage. That's going to be to get the beaver hide into its nice oval shape to fit in the hoop to go on the wall. And anyone who actually does like traps and stuff on a normal basis, they know this process. What you do is you start out, you bring your hide to its hole size on your oval shaping, and you just keep cutting your spaces in half with a new nail each time until you've got it tacked down all the way around the outer edge. Approximately the distance of the width of your thumb between each nail. And that's about the whole process for this. It's going to take a while, it's going to be noisy, but we've already got this side started from last night. And what this is going to do is it lets the air in at the leather, lets the formula sink in. You're going to need to wear your rubber gloves because you're handling the hide with the formula on it. So it makes it a little bit of a pain in the butt. But it goes pretty quick, pretty easy once you get in the swing of things and get going on it. So I'm going to get this all tacked out so everyone can see it, and we'll go from there. Okay, quick little clip here. I'll show you the idea of how this gets tacked out. I've got to go around one more time with the nails. Some of these look pretty crooked. Well, as long as they hold. So there's the idea. There'll be like one more nail in between each one. And then we let it sit for a while longer. It takes several days for this stuff to get right into the hide. You got to work the hide. After the first couple days, you got to work the hide. I'll be able to explain that as I get to that point and show you what that means. Yeah, this is it so far. This tanning solution stuff works pretty good. I recommend it to people that are trying this stuff out for the first time. And if you like using it, like the results, obviously you just keep at it. But yeah, this is the idea of what it looks like tacked out on the board. I'm gonna have to close that blind to keep the sun off it. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, last few nails here. And we'll describe some of this. Okay, got the outside edge done. Now you want to tack the leg holes shut. Now you just need a couple small nails for that. Put it through one side, bring it barely over the edge on the other side. And for the back ones, work from the tail end towards the center. Because the fur on the fur side is what people are going to see. It's going to overlap down over the, I guess like this. It would come down like this over top of the lower part. And once it's combed out, it'll just look a lot nicer. You want this thing to You want it to be, what's that word, aesthetically pleasing type thing. You want people to show off the work you do for them. There we go. Not liking how this one closed up. So we're gonna redo it. Real quick here, grab a couple of the good, proper finishing nails. This will help train the leather to sit the way you want it to. There we go. Okay, all done with the nails. As you can see, you've got lots in here. Very little space, 1 finger's worth of space between each nail. I'm gonna stop this for a moment and turn the camera around so I can see what I'm showing. Okay, here we go. As you can see, 1 finger worth of space between each nail, approximately. Don't got to be exact. Want it as close as possible to exact. And as you look around the edge of the hide, you'll see it's a nice even line. When you're tacking it in, don't be afraid to have to pull a nail and move it in or out a little bit to get that nice perfect flow. You want everything, like the edge on it, to line up, everything to line up perfectly on it and have that nice perfect oval to it. For the simple reason you want people to show off the work you did for them. Or if you're doing it for yourself, you want to show off the work you did. So far so good though. We're going to let this sit. You can see the fisher tail here. Got to get it opened up. You can see that the tanning solution has already started getting into the leather nice and deep. You want to let it get it all opened up though. You want the air to be able to get to the leather now. This stuff's activated. Okay, I'm going to shut this down for today. Tomorrow we'll get to work on starting to break the hide, or work the hide. We'll talk to you soon. Morning, everybody. Hide's been sitting now with the tanning solution on it for 2 days. Everything's getting in there pretty good. There's Trey down here. Hi, Alex. Got the dog being a pain in the butt here. Been paying pretty close attention to what Grandpa's been doing with his beaver hide. Okay, I've started working on it here for breaking the leather. We've got a few spots here that aren't completely set yet with the formula. What it is spots where I had too much flesh left on them. The stuff's, if you're really careful, you can peel it off. Very small, light strokes with the knife. I'll need to put a little bit more tanning formula on spots like that. And yeah, it's just a quick little Don't put too much pressure on the knife, you will cut the hide. Especially seeing this is now technically leather through this section. I've started working along here. You might be able to make out on the screen that where you can see the whiter color to it here. There's a line right down here. And all you're doing is you're taking your knife and keep it flat, like 90 degrees to the hide. Start working down. What you're doing is thinning off the leather. You're going to get a lot of fine shavings. You'll end up with a suede type surface. And you can just keep going. You can put a little bit of pressure on. What this does is helps soften the leather up for the finished product. It's one of the advantages to using the Beaver board for doing this work on. It gives you a nice solid surface behind the hide so you can put a little bit of pressure on it when you're scraping it down. It's the same theory I use when I'm actually doing them for the fur market. Just scraping them down to dry. You can see some of the stuff slowly coming off. And yeah, we were pretty much just taking the outer surface off of it. So we're gonna get to work on this. I gotta get these few little spots here. I've got to get a bit more tanning formula on them. It's nothing to be concerned about when you're doing it, as long as you don't let it completely dry right out. You need that little bit of dampness for the formula to work its way in. And like I said, just remember, don't put too much pressure on it. Just nice light little strokes with the knife. The tanning formula will fix the outer surface of that fat and grizzle. As you can see, the spots are by the forelegs. They're a little hard to work with sometimes. And right by that ear, yeah, I got a little bit grizzle left around that ear. So we'll get that fixed up, and I'll just keep working on the hide, and we'll be back probably take me 2 more days to get this all complete and finished, and we'll get it off the board and continue working it from there. Okay, so several days in here now, you can see where I touched up the tanning formula yesterday. One more day, I should be able to take this off the board and start working it properly. As you can see, it's turned a nice bright white. That's from me working it with the knife. Just gently rubbing the leather with the edge of the blade. Got done about a 45-degree angle. Not very much pressure at all. The section of the blade that touches the leather, you have to move in a nice straight line. You cannot move it like this. I'm not putting any pressure on it here. It's just a demo. You cannot move it like that or like that, like in a sideways motion. If you do, you risk slicing the hide open. As you can see by this stuff here, this is the kind of stuff that you're just scraping off just the surface, something to make it like thin it. This is known as working the hide. It's not the method I normally use for working case-skinned animals because, well, they're a little easier to maneuver. You can see my otter hide tanning video for that. I'll put a little thing up in the corner there. I forget what they're called, a card, I guess. You don't want to scrape much where the more recent tanning formula is. Let me see where I'm going to have to trim out a little bit here, the last little bit of the jellos. Now that it's the tannin, I soaked that big time with tanning formula. Works quite nicely that way. Just slowly working away at it while I wait for the more recent formula to get in there. But yeah, tomorrow I should be able to take it off the board and demonstrate actually working the hide. Then after that, I guess it's just an update on the finished product. Everything's going great. It's looking beautiful. Got it. Practically perfect oval to it. There might be one spot just right here where the oval's a little off. But that's not a big deal. It's not off much if it is. So. Almost finished. Okay, so day 7. We've got the hide off the board. I just got finished pulling that off there. As you can see, with the working I've done on it so far while it was on the board, it's starting to get pretty flexible. Still a little stiff. So one of the first things you want to do, you want to go around the edge with your knife. Once again, you keep the blade 90 degrees. Try not to make any type of cutting motion, just a scraping motion. Come around the edge. Get all the spots you couldn't work while it had the nails in it. One thing you'll notice while you're doing this part is you're going to take a little bit of fur with the edge of the leather. That's because, well, every bit of just means you're getting the edge cleaned off good. Every bit of the leather technically is going to have fur on it, right? When it fastens to it. So don't worry about it though, it's just making for a nice cleaner edge. Still have a bunch of work to do down here by the tail. For where I had to reapply the tanning formula. Now there is a conditioning oil that you can get. I've never used it. As you can see, really nice leather. There was apparently some dirt on the table here. So I got a couple dirty spots here on the leather I'm going to have to clean up. Now, the fur side, I've already started brushing this. I have big furry dogs. Comes in handy. I've got lots of combs. Lots of spares, ones they don't like. But I'm using just a soft, like flexible bristled brush. And you want to comb the fur against the grain type thing. I forget what it's called. You want to get it standing up. Every bit of the fur. Comb it out good. Now the reason is the fur was still slightly damp when it went on the board. So it's got matted pretty good. So you want to get it all loosened up, fluffed up. And you end up with some very beautiful fur. You just take a fine comb, just gently comb them back down, nose to tail, just gently. Don't gotta put any force on it. Find a spot where the hair has knots in it. Just tilt your comb a bit. It'll help pull the knot out. Yeah, everything nice and gentle. And you can see here, got just a little bit of the fur. It's got it all cleaned up. You lose next to nothing out of the fur. Just making it pretty. No different than brushing your own hair or brushing your dog. There we go. Now, we can do a bit more work on leather. It's going to need more breaking. One idea is roll it up like this. It helps just make the hide flex a bit. Now you're going to have to, as you can see, it's kind of got a curve now where the hide's not completely broke. So you do it again, opposite side. Go. I guess I'm gonna have to move the camera for that view. There we go. An almost finished, perfectly tanned beaver hide. It turned out beautiful. It's got that nice cream color to the leather. That's what you want. Move the camera back over here. Like I said, there's still some work to do for breaking the hide. Not a lot. Little odds and ends. Like I said, the spots where I had to reapply the tanning formula, they're going to need some work. Nothing serious. Nice and quick. Yeah, that's your whole process right there. Start to finish. Well, like I said, almost finished. There is that little bit more of working the hide to do, scraping the hide. The areas where I reapplied the tanning formula down here are pretty much completely done. The back legs can be a little bit of a nuisance, the way that they were folded down, but you can just easily reverse them, and now they're the parts you weren't able to get to with the knife are now accessible. And you just tuck them back in. There we go. Now, I tend to put felt backing on the hides. That has to wait, I'd say wait a minimum of a week after you've completely finished working it and you have it to the softness that you would want. You can't rush something like this. Anyone who's ever sent a hide or an animal to the taxidermist, they know you ain't getting it back like a week later. It's a couple months. You guys work pretty hard. We have several high-class taxidermists in the area, like within a couple 100 miles of here. Clean that little bit of dirt off there. But yeah, as you can see, it goes back to its proper shape. So it's still a little stiff, but I'll keep working on it. These are for wall hangers, not for garment material. I'd have to use some of the conditioning oil in it if I wanted to go that far and make clothing grade furs, but yeah, there we go. Now we'll grab the camera here. Thank you very much everyone for watching. I know it's a long video, but it's a long process. It's been a week since I started, and that's an average time frame. It'll be another day or two until it's 100% finished. Like I said, I've got that little bit extra to work on the, like, softening it up and stuff and breaking the hide, and it's pretty much ready for I think I referred to him before as the customer that will be getting it. I guess technically he is paying for the hide, so it's pretty much finished. like I said, a couple more days. You don't got to work on them like all day and all night. It's an hour here, half hour there. I'm probably looking about another hour's worth of work on it. And then it can hang on the wall for a week, and we'll get the felt backing on it if it's required or needed. I do believe he'd prefer the leather back, so that's going to save me a stage on getting this thing finished and ready for him. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching, everyone. We'll talk to you all again soon. Be sure to check out the other tanning video that I have. I've got lots of trapping videos, lots of videos from around the cabin, all that fun stuff. It's a pretty vast variety of topics. Everyone have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.